this is why I love this scene, but it's set up to look like a Nazi war room, which is intense.
Andor does a very good job, the series, of continuing the train of thought. Like, George Lucas famously had the Empire in the original trilogy designed to resemble Nazis. Like, the famous foot soldiers are called stormtroopers. Darth Vader's helmet looks like a German soldier's helmet. And then Andor continues the theme through of like, and what if they operated like fascist and authoritarian regimes like this?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Tales of Our Times. This is a show where we discuss the stories that move us and what makes them so meaningful and why others could or should find meaning in them as well. This is not a spoiler-free show, so bear that in mind as you continue to listen. We tackle movies, books, TV shows, and more. Where there's a story, there's a reason to watch. I'm your host, Amanda Stevens. And this is the third episode in our month-long series. But after last episode, I realized it's going to be slightly longer than a month-long series, where for February, +1, we are going to be discussing the show Andor. Just this one show, the 2 seasons, and the ways in which it seems to kind of mirror problems that we're seeing today and why it feels so real. Sometimes people have said even instructive or reflective of other protest movements around the world. And today we're going to be looking at the darker side of that. I know last week I said today we're going to look at role models, but before that I realized it will be a lot more helpful before we talk about how we're fighting back against the Empire to define what the Empire even looks like in these shows and the ways in which, again, we'll probably see a lot more familiarity than we would like. Here to help me break this down are 2 Star Wars experts and enthusiasts. They're with us for the whole month, now +1, Cat Trites and Jared Friesen.
Hello.
Hey.
Now, Cat Trites is an AP Lit teacher,
Yeah.
and Jared, in addition to being a creative writer, much like Cat as well, also has a focus on art history, so you're helping us to break down some of the visual motifs. So thank you guys for joining me today. And let's talk about the Empire.
Woohoo.
We started the last episode by discussing the time in which this takes place is after the fall of the Republic. And it is before the actual rebellion period, which is usually like the movies 1, 2, and 3. Or episode 4, 5, 6. But the first
The original trilogy and the prequel trilogy.
And
this
so
is splitting in the middle there.
Yes. This is the period of the Empire, but it also is kind of the beginning of the Empire.
Yes.
So what is the state of the Empire at the start of this show?
So the show starts very early on in the growth of the Empire.
About 10 or 13 years since
Okay.
the Republic turned into an empire. But I think the Empire hasn't brought the boot down yet.
And so what type of government do they have then? Because we also know that they have a Senate still, because we just discussed Mon Mothma, who remains a senator through most of this show.
The point they're at in the collapse of their democracy is an overreaching executive and a legislative branch that is having a harder time regulating them. Too many emergency powers have been ceded to the executive branch, which is the emperor.
We see this start to happen at the end of the Clone Wars TV show. But the Emperor, at this point, Palpatine, has been slowly taking more and more power in the government. He gets to make universal decisions to the point where now the Senate is largely figureheads. Like, they don't have a lot of actual say in government.
They kind of debate for the newspapers, but in the end, they're going to end up doing
What the
Emperor wants.
Yeah.
Or he can drag his feet on enacting legislation they pass.
Right.
People are comfortable too, because the other side of this is the Empire spans most of the galaxy at this point.
Yeah.
And so it rules kind of by de jure. Its law is the one a lot of other people follow, but day-to-day ground level stuff, for example, the planet that Cassian goes to in the first episode is run by a corporation. They're allowed to self-govern at the approval of the Empire. And we see that as rebel activity escalates, more direct control is exerted by the Empire.
Because as long as there's an ongoing problem, you can use it as justification, or I should say an overwhelming authority figure can use it as justification to grab more power by saying this isn't working, so I need power to continue. So, okay, I think this is a good place for us to start. So this is like the system or the governmental system that we're working in. So I want to then get to the two characters through which we see the Empire the most.
Yes.
Syril Karn and
Dedra.
Dedra. I was going to say Dedra, but it's Dedra.
It's Dedra.
So Syril and Dedra, and they both work for the Empire. So let's describe their arc as how, like, basically is how they find themselves more and more enmeshed in the Empire.
Syril Karn is like a deputy security guard.
Yeah.
And he's also the first one we're introduced to, I believe.
Yeah.
You described him as someone with Paul Blart Mall Cop energy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mixed with Dwight from The Office.
God, that's the worst coworker I could imagine.
Like absolute focus on the rules, which is what gets him involved.
But there is a special flavor of, I have a modicum more power, so the rules are mine to use, too.
So in the beginning, he's left in charge, and Andor comes in, and 2 people die.
Yeah, 2 security guards for this corporation are killed by Andor.
One of which is an accident, one is intentional.
And Cyril's boss basically says, make this disappear. They were doing illegal things in an illegal place we aren't supposed to have.
Syril says no. He's like, I can't let this go. 2 people have died. He has the strong sense of, like, I need to do something about this. And he pursues it to everyone's detriment. Yeah.
He leads a botched SWAT raid, essentially, on Ferrix, which is Cassian's home planet, looking for Andor. Doesn't find him. Everything goes sideways. A car gets blown up. People die. He's immediately disgraced. The Empire uses it as an excuse of, like, clearly, corporate security doesn't cut it, so you're all done. The corporation loses control of their planets in that sector.
Oh, okay.
The Empire comes in, takes over everything.
So where does this put Syril?
Syril is demoted.
He's fired.
He
does get fired.
He's fired.
He goes home to
demoted
his mom's
the
house.
Very bottom of the rung.
Basically, like, standards and weights, like, for import-export stuff across the Empire.
But he's like the lowest of the low at this point.
Bottom of the pyramid.
But now he's basically gone to, I need to find Andor, because Andor ruined my life.
This is his singular
This
focus.
has now become his obsession.
Yeah.
Okay.
Using his minimal access to records to keep looking at it until he gets the attention of Dedra Meero, who's basically like a desk director for the CIA.
Well, he said she's got big girl boss energy.
Yeah.
Yes. And she is the one who gets put in charge of looking for, like, lost imperial wares, things that they know that people are repurposing against them.
Basically, like, not officially saying stuff that the rebellion is stealing,
But stuff
but
that the rebellion
what they
is
mean
stealing.
is, like, we're chasing down stuff that the rebellion we know is trying to start is stealing. But so he encounters Dedra, and how does she change his career path to use this?
Gosh.
She asks him in for an interrogation about Andor, basically validating that, like, oh, I'm onto something.
Yeah, which puts Syril in a position of, like, I want power.
Sure,
I can
he's
start,
trying
like,
to
climbing.
sell himself.
I can climb
Yeah,
myself.
to the
as the
ladder.
guy who knows about Andor. He doesn't really. But then he continues his own kind of vigilante streak with this ex-SWAT officer who he also got disgraced. They go to Ferrix to try and catch Andor. He winds up saving Dedra from a riot. They kind of have, like, a Stockholm syndrome, like, romance, mainly because he's a pushover and she's a control freak.
Oh, cool.
But
A great dynamic.
then she also uses him and appoints him, like, bureaucratic functionary, like, just basically
She's
like,
using him as a spy.
yeah.
And he has a different understanding of why he's in this position than she tells him.
So he thinks that he's there to, like, do some bureaucratic something.
That's his cover, is being a manager, basically. And he's supposed to get in touch with the resistance on Gorman, this planet that the Empire has an interest in. They have not told him because the Empire is trying to force the rebel group on Gorman into military action.
You mentioned this in the last episode that they orchestrate a clash
Yes.
Yeah.
on Gorman, which they use as an excuse to then carry out extreme retributive action, resulting in a genocide.
Yes.
And so they have Syril Karn not knowing, sort of like maybe being the tinder for that.
Yeah,
A little
basically,
bit.
like,
Yeah, a little bit.
he'll show them, like, allowed weaknesses in the Imperial structure
Yeah.
that they'll want to target,
Yeah.
that the Empire's kind of baiting out. When he realizes that this is basically pretext to a massacre, it's too late. It's happening. And
panics.
he basically tries to use his authority to help save one or two of them. They write him off as the traitor he is. Through a huge confluence of events, Andor is also at this for assassinating Dedra Meero. Syril gets Andor at gunpoint.
This is the man that he has been obsessed with for his entire career.
For about 3 years at this point.
Yes.
Andor turns around and looks at him.
Says, "Who are you?"
Who are you?
And then he dies.
Syril gets caught in crossfire and killed.
It's not even Andor who kills him,
Yeah.
which is almost more galling when you think about it, because he doesn't get to kill Andor. Andor doesn't kill him because Andor doesn't know
Andor
who
has
he
bigger
is.
things.
Yeah.
So let's move on then to talk about the other force of the Empire, Dedra Meero, who, when we introduced her, we described as like big girl boss energy, kind of like woman in a man's world, and also somebody who, Kat, you described as like very driven to achieve success because she had a very rough childhood and is now trying to claw her way to power after having grown up in poverty. And so she sees the Empire as the way to do this. So she, I know, ends up working at the ISB. Is that where we meet her? The Imperial Security Bureau.
Yeah.
Yes, we meet her. She's already working for the ISB. She's an ISB supervisor. She is very good at pattern recognition. So she's been piecing things together on her own.
And when we say she's piecing things together, I'm going to assume that this is her piecing together that there is a rebellion.
Yeah, she's the one who discovers Axis, which is Luthen.
yeah.
She doesn't know he's Luthen yet, but she discovers that there is a central figure to this rebellion. She calls him Axis, and she's looking for him.
Smart.
Yeah.
And this is what gets her involved with Andor as well, is she finds something that Axis has sent out into the world, and that's how she finds Andor.
Okay.
And I think, too, like, she's the first woman who's in the position she's currently in. At the end of season 1, she tries to orchestrate a trap to catch Andor at
out,
his
yeah.
own mother's funeral.
She believes he's tied to Axis.
So that trap fails because this is what we were just talking about with Syril Karn.
And Syril rescues her. In
she
this
gets rescued by
situation.
him. They start their situationships
It's
little
exactly
bit.
a
where she gets to
situationship,
like
yes.
boss around this little Weasley guy.
Yeah. She is recruited into a new initiative.
Oh, I love this scene.
We have a cameo from the villain, basically, of Rogue One, who is Director Krennic. He's the guy who basically is, weird to say, heading the Death Star project.
No, I like that wording because calling it the Death Star Project does a great job of showing the bureaucracy and, more importantly, the corporate nature of the Empire.
Yeah.
So she encounters the head of the Death Star Project.
Yeah. He brings her in.
This is the scene where they're also discussing how to go about creating the Gorman massacre.
They need direct control of the planet Gorman for strip mining purposes.
They need materials for the Death Star.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is going to
And they
Ruin-
can't
Destroy
do
the
that
planet. They have
Ruin
to
the planet.
destroy the planet.
if they have a populace there.
Who's going to protest? And
Yeah.
So they have to get rid of the people to get access to the planet so that they can then
but in
build a
order to
huge
get rid of
weapon.
the people, you have to have the rest of the world on your side. So they have to look. The
Well-
people have to look like bad guys.
How do they set this up?
she gets invited to a board meeting. There are newsmen, geologists from like essentially the Army Corps of Engineers. This is top secret. Probably how people got brought into the Manhattan Project. But
It's also very reminiscent of. This is why I love this scene, but it's set up to look like a Nazi war room, which is intense.
So they figure out how they're going to orchestrate the Gorman massacre.
Yes.
the operation, in terms of the Empire's point of view, doesn't go well, basically. It does lead to Imperial control. It's not as clean as that perhaps they would have liked. And also, she fails to find Axis right after Axis makes out with notes and plans about the Death Star.
And the person who stole the plans to give to Axis used Dedra's credentials.
Yes.
And in doing so, this seems like the end of Dedra's career.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely, yes.
Does she survive this?
In a fair bit of poetry, in the first season, there's a prison called Narkina 5, which is a labor camp.
Oh.
It's revealed at the end of like the first season that what is made at Narkina 5 are components of the Death Star.
That makes sense.
In the closing shots of season 2, the final season of Andor, she is in a cell in a prison uniform that clearly shows that she's in like probably Narkina 6 or something.
The thing that I love about that scene too is that the scene goes from her sitting stoically in the interrogation to her sitting stoically in the Narkina prison cell in the uniform that we recognize. And then the lights go out and she breaks down and she just starts
she lost everything.
sobbing.
Let me hone in on that
So-
because, yeah, that seems to be a theme between these two characters.
Going off on your own.
But also the idea of like seeking power
Yes.
and going to the Empire to do so. So we said like Dedra's might be more deeply set because she had a very rough childhood that she now wants to make sure she never has to live a life like that again.
I think Syril's need for power is a need for control over his own life. He is a very controlling mother who has dictated every aspect of his life up to this point.
And maybe also in that like a need for respect. Nobody takes him seriously.
Both of these characters believe they will find respect and control in the system they inhabit.
Yes.
They see the system as like something that can become an extension of themselves, which will help to elevate them, not necessarily themselves as tools for the system to use.
Yes. But Keeley, that's not the same as the respect of the people in the hierarchy. It's like just, I have the authority to do this. It doesn't matter what you think.
The difference between authority and respect.
Yes. That respect is not afforded to them by the system.
No.
The system is just this machine of oppression and authority that will use and discard people as necessary to maintain itself.
To that end, I want to just close by discussing the idea that the Empire itself is sort of very corporatized and very bureaucratic because, Jared, as you say, the Empire is something that will use you, it'll chew you up. Like the thing that came to my mind is like the Empire is a corporate machine. While you said it does resemble things from like Nazi Germany, also I think deeply normal things like a board meeting. But instead of discussing the product or the revenue of the last like 6 months, we're discussing how we can strip mine an entire planet, displace the population, and have like the larger galactic population on our side. Why was this the direction that was chosen as opposed to like in the Star Wars movies where we mostly see like a single powerful figure in a room surrounded by magic and sparks or swinging a lightsaber around?
I think we move away from that because in real life, a lot of these authoritarian regimes have a central figure that history will paint as the villain at the heart of it all, ignoring the like apparatus of state around them that functions for these things. Planets are ruled by the corporations in the beginning. Within a week, one bungled operation, no more corporate control. The Empire's in with troops on the ground. Like, I keep saying machine because it doesn't matter about the people there.
It's people to serve the system.
Yeah. And the downfall of all these characters, which I think is like an inevitable conclusion they had to show, is every character's arc ends when they stop being useful to the machine. Like, it is not like what you did in the past that people remember. Doesn't matter. What have you done lately that's of use or detriment?
But these are two of my favorite characters from this show because they are so human. If we watch them and their arc, and if we look at it from a different lens, you'd be rooting for them. That's what we were talking about before, is that these are normal people. And in a galaxy that is filled with magic and then like larger than life, over the top villains, it's very interesting to me to see these just like normal, regular people as villains.
I think that that's a really powerful sentiment that I hope listeners would carry from this into the future, that everybody you see who is doing these big, powerful, terrible things, at the end of the day, no matter the persona that they put out or the people who will listen to them for whatever reason, they're also just a person. And that applies in like all of these different ways. Like they might have a difficult relationship with their mother. They might feel like people around them don't take them seriously, but they could also have like much more human flaws. Like they're annoying and people don't like to hang out with them, or they're a bad date. Things that can help you to bring these people in power down from their pedestal and remind you that like they're still just a normal person. And on that playing field, they are not better or stronger than you.
Yeah, we're the same.
Well, I think that's going to be it for today. We'll be back next week for real this time with talk about our heroes. Thank you, Cat Trites and Jared Friesen, for joining us. And in the meantime, thank you for listening to Tales of Our Time on Radio Taiwan International. And we'll continue talking about Andor next week.